Once, there was an empire, vast, proud, and convinced of its own immortality. Its rulers believed they could bend the course of history to their will. But now, that empire stands before its own shadow, tired, confused, collapsing from within. Russia, once a symbol of strength, is slowly destroying itself by its own hand. No foreign power is causing this downfall. Its greatest enemy now lies within. Modern Russia rests on a massive lie, and no matter how hard it tries to hide it, the decay inside can no longer be stopped. By the end of 2024, Russia's economy took a terrifying turn. The crushing costs of the war in Ukraine, Western sanctions, and failed economic policies have pushed the country down a path from which there is almost no return. Its greatest weakness is that no one truly knows the real numbers. The statistics the Kremlin publishes are half hidden, half distorted. The Kremlin insists the economy remains stable, but the truth tells a very different story. Budget deficits are soaring, inflation is climbing to record highs, and ordinary people are running out of money fast. Economist Oleksandr Vlasyuk, in an interview with Euromaidan Press, put it bluntly: Russia's current economy can be summed up in one phrase: a body rotting from within. He explained that while official revenues appear steady, the real income is far lower. Oil and gas revenues are falling rapidly, and after losing the European market, Russia is now desperately leaning on China and India. But that's where the real problem lies. China and India are buying Russian fuel at deeply discounted prices. Instead of profiting, Russia is merely struggling to survive. This discount strategy has slashed its real earnings by 30 to 40%. Vlasyuk adds, even if exports grow, profits are shrinking faster. As a result, Russia's budget deficit is now one of the largest in its modern history. By early 2025, that deficit had already reached 3 trillion rubles, nearly 50% higher than the government's target. To fill the gap, Russia began drawing money from its National Wealth Fund, a reserve meant to protect the country in future crises. But that fund is rapidly drying up. Most of those reserves were built from oil profits. Yet after the invasion of Ukraine, Western sanctions froze nearly half of Russia's foreign currency reserves. Cash on hand is shrinking fast. According to Vlasyuk's estimates, at this pace, the National Wealth Fund will be nearly exhausted by mid-2026. Meanwhile, internal debt is rising quickly. To finance the war, the government is selling domestic bonds, effectively pulling citizen savings into state coffers. This is creating a liquidity crisis in banks and increasing hardship for ordinary people. Altogether, Russia's economy has become a war in itself. A real war with Ukraine and another silent war for economic survival. The entire economic structure now depends on the war. Every month of fighting means more spending, more debt, and more internal strain. Yet the country's revenue is not rising, it's falling. Vlasyuk describes it clearly. War has become Russia's main industry. Weapons production, troop recruitment, military logistics. These are now the only sectors showing growth. In other words, Russia is trapped in a paradox. If the war stops, the economy collapses. If the war continues, it collapses anyway. In this fragile state, the government has turned to propaganda. State media insists daily that everything is fine, the ruble is stable, the people are united. But reality paints a different picture. Ordinary Russians are living through the hardest conditions in decades. Food prices keep rising, medicine is scarce, foreign brands have vanished, and small businesses are closing one after another. Still, the state repeats the same line. This sacrifice is patriotism. Economists call it self-deception, a desperate illusion where the government hides behind fake numbers, while beneath the surface, the foundation of the entire system is quietly collapsing.